Many who believe never have given any time to it. Some that believe couldn't intellectually. Neither does this belief come from tradition. Tradition has to be started. And if it started, where did the idea of the Supreme Being come from? All evidence, and again I remind you, at this point, we are looking at God from a human standpoint, like a professor would in college. And by the way, this is one of the first messages I ever made up. This is the way I used to preach and teach. But all evidence points to the fact that this universal faith in an existence of God is an innate in man. And so universal of an effect must have a cause as universal. An argument makes the burden of proof rest upon those who deny the existence of God. But let's look at another argument. What about this old world itself? Was it self-originated? Oh, there's some in here would say yes, especially some of you high school students that go to the public school. Yes. I think it's obvious that it didn't come into being itself. Without some pinhead professor teaching it, some self-absorbed teacher, you'd never believe that any more than you believe. What if I said all the nails and drywall and the roofing material and the carpet and the wood and everything just came together one day? It just came together to make this building. You'd say, you're a fool. Well, I say the person that says the much more intricate world around us, when somebody would say that just came together, he's a fool. He's a fool. That the trees and the flowers and the animals and the people around us have just grown by mere chemical forces makes no more logical sense than to say the evolution book that says it happened came together by mere chemical forces. Brilliant people say that. Self-proclaimed brilliant people. We have very educated people in here. Very educated people sprinkled in our auditorium. They don't believe it. No theory of eternal series can account for the created universe around us. None. And we've got engineers in here. We've got a doctor sitting here. We've got a lawyer sitting here. We have professors sitting here. So don't say all educated people believe it. The evolutionist uses carbon dating to prove the age of the world. Now, the Bible speaks in terms of thousands of years. And the secular educator speaks of millions and billions of years. And it's proved through carbon dating. Now, the point I want to make, and you could not deny it, carbon dating is circular reasoning. They say they don't have the faith to believe the Bible. Honestly, I have studied this stuff. I have sat at the feet of the professors. It takes more faith to believe in evolution than it takes to believe in God. You see, through no scientific fact at all, someone, and I say no scientific fact, someone determines that a particular material is 3 million years old. And then they use that as a gauge. And if another item reacts similarly, with similar testing, they say it's 3 million years old. But please answer this question. How could anyone know how old a 3 million year old item is? How can they know? Were they there? Of course not. Did somebody write a note to them? Of course not. I say again, it's circular reasoning. One scientist sets a date, and any other material that responds the same is dated the same. I took geology in college at a secular school. I took physics. I took botany. I am no scholar, but I sat under so-called experts. They talked about the Pitttown Man. I always got a kick out of the Pitttown Man. Now, I don't know if it's still in the books, but it was always in our science books when I was younger. He was kind of humpback. He was hairy. Boy. Now, I praise God that when I was going to Iowa State University, the college teacher was the head of the chemistry department at Iowa State University. And I was glad when I'm sitting in here, just a punk kid, and I asked him, what should I do? You know, I'm just a kid. He said, whenever they say something that doesn't make sense, ask them more questions. Ask them, how do they know? So here's the Pitttown Man, held up supremely as a proof of evolution. And I asked, how do you know he looked like that picture? Well, we found a skull. Oh. Professor, doctor, how much of the skull? Well, the jaw. Professor, doctor, how much of the jaw? Some teeth. And from a little section of teeth that they found, they produced the Pitttown Man. And everybody believes it because the professors say it. I remember another great find that has been proven wrong since I was in school. I forget the name now because they don't want to talk about him. Boy, they had him, the drawings, humped over, hairy, all that. They found whatever man this was. And then they discovered, when I was probably in my 30s, they would say, we know because we found the skull. What do you mean the skull? The skull cap. We found the skull cap. Finally, somebody honest said it was an elephant's kneecap. Isn't that sad? And yet the majority of people today would allow that to throw doubt on God. Because these are the professors. These are the experts. Man exists. But he owes his existence to a cause. Man is an effect. He's not always been here. There must be a cause. And the only answer for an intelligent man is an infinite, eternal, intelligent God. A watch not only proves a maker, but a designer. It was made for a purpose. How could anyone look around him at this earth? At the smallest bug, at a fly that irritates you, at an ant, and say they are natural results, accidents. You've got to be a fool. No, they're the results of a superintending God. Now, again, please don't think I'm going too far. Again, I'm looking at this from the view of man. And the third point I have is the morality